next speaker is Rudradeb, Mitra, with a predictive analytics case study. Please welcome him.
Can I use this? Hello, can you hear me? Hi. So I'll briefly introduce myself. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, and these days I mostly speak, write, and mentor various startups. And my background is AI, not really fintech. In today's talk, I'm going to talk about the predicting customer behavior using AI. So in my talk today, I'll talk about 3 questions, which is why, how, and what. So the thing is, why should you do prediction? How do you can do prediction? And what type of predictions that you want to do? So the first question is why? In short, predictive analytics is what is likely to happen. So it doesn't say that what will happen, but it can say there is a 90%, 80%, or 70% likelihood of happening something. First question is, why is that even important? Like predictions, why is that the whole thing important? In today's world, in analytics, all the things that people often end up talking about is based on the data that already was past data. So when you are looking at a certain data and you're saying, okay, what we could derive from that is actually a data that has happened in the past. So even if you're using this as a Grafana dashboard, whenever you are looking at some data and you're trying to analyze something, you're often looking at the past data. What predictive analytics do is it doesn't talk about past data, but it's going to talk about the future data. So what could happen or what will happen or what is most likely to happen. So once a company knows that, that's actually very interesting. So I will talk about 2 small use cases to show that how can this type of data be used. So if I ask one question to the audience, is what is the most important metric for a company? If one metric that you have to track, what will be that? Anyone have an idea?
Cash flow.
Kind of. So which is basically customer equity. There's a term called customer lifetime value or customer equity. What customer equity says is what is the total value of transactions that will happen, not only the present customers, but also the future customers. That's the whole basis of firm valuation or anything of any firm in the world. Since today there are a lot of startups, and I since mentor a lot of startups, the biggest question that a lot of startups are not able to solve, don't know how to solve. Anyone? If there are some startups, that's one question that often startups can solve.
To make money.
Well, yeah, exactly. The question that they don't know is how much someone is willing to pay for the service they want to make. Very, very few companies actually know the solution. So imagine for a startup, if they know that this is the service they are selling, and this is the price of that, it's a huge value for them. So you can easily understand that I'm trying to make you guys think why is that important, and I hope you guys already know why predictive analytics is so important. So if you know that how much customer X is not what he bought yesterday, but how much he's going to buy tomorrow, how much he's going to buy in a week, in a year, is a huge value for any firm. Because often today, companies are making decisions based on the data that they have yesterday. You might also know that customer Y will buy a bit less for whatever reasons. And you then can find, okay, I want to go and find customer X. So that's the whole point, that's why it's so big. And I actually call it's the mother of all business intelligence. That's the key that a lot of companies are focusing on. But it's very complex, as you can understand. If you want to know the future of a customer, especially in a transactional sense. Now, in a simple, a lot of subscription models, this is very easy. You know the person will go and buy maybe for 6 months to a year. But transactions like eBay, Amazon, is very difficult because you don't know when the person will buy something in next time. So, and it does actually depend on various factors, including weather, political situations, time of the day. So I will try to answer the question is how. how can, some companies are trying it, and how can you actually know what someone is going to buy tomorrow? There are two major models that companies use. In the past, till now, it has always been mathematical or regression models. So I'll leave that part. Many of you know, so I'll leave that part because that's not the key. The one which I want to focus, which most companies are now focusing on, is using a neural network. Now, I don't know how many of you know about neural network. I will give you a very quick explanation of how it works. A neural network is, you have some inputs and you have some outputs. And the inside is some nodes with some weights. You train the network based on the data, and you expect the network to adjust the weights so that it can learn certain patterns. How exactly a neural network works, no one knows in the world, but that's the basic idea of that it is adjusting the weights with certain data input to give an output. And you can potentially use this kind of networks to predict various things. Especially Google, Facebook, they're using it for telling about, for example, looking at a picture and thinking it's a cat and it's a dog, but you can also use it for predicting. So I'll explain, go further on and give you a way you could potentially use such networks for prediction. So one of the use cases, this is a data that Instacart released a month ago. Instacart is a startup. Well, it's not really a startup yet, but well, not now anymore. But what it does, that you could order grocery from your local shop, and it is delivered within 2 hours. So not only it tracks your order history, but it also tracks your time history. So this is very, very vital. So they have put all of these 2 million orders online, and they have asked people to help them to predict what will their customers in future order. And they also said that what they are using now, they are using a very simple network, which is called word-to-vec, but I will not go in details, which basically takes inputs, the past records of the products that they have, some customer has ordered, and then it tries to predict that what it will order next. Now, if you really intuitively think about it, often we, as humans, order similar products in a similar area. So if I'm ordering ice cream, I might also want to order, I don't know, water. I don't know if that's true, but kind of. You can understand what I'm trying to say here. But it doesn't take into account one of the key aspects, which is the time factor. That they have even seen that people, during the day of the time, if it's in the morning, they order something else, in the evening, they order something different. If the weather is something, they order something else. So you have to take into account the time factor. And the most simple neural networks are not able to take into account the time factor because they are just one network. So there is a class of neural networks which are called recurrent neural networks, where what you do is each of those is basically same kind of network, but your inputs depends on the previous time. So you see x0 is an input at time 0, x1 at time 1, and x2 at time 2. So you can, in this way, the network actually remembers or tries to learn the data that is being input over time. Again, there's a class of networks called LSTM, which is actually mostly used. I don't think that's within the scope of this, but if you guys are interested to know more, you can go and read about LSTM networks. That is the one which is actually used by many companies. So this is a use case that I think many of you may know this company called Zalando. It's a German retail company. They use LSTM networks to predict. And this is a graph that they have put. What they are saying is this at 8:33, this is a real data. Someone clicked an ad. At 10:35, someone viewed the product. At 10:48, someone did another product view. And they track this time, and then they are trying to predict what is the next action of the user would be. So this is kind of, they're using LSTM networks, and each of those goes to an RNN, as I said in the previous network. So I hope this gives you some idea about how can you use data to predict the future behavior of customers. Now, although I answered this question about that you want to know what the customer is going to buy next, but what exactly that you should predict? this is something I came across this article in HBR, Harvard Business Review, and very interesting article. I forgot the name, so I will just briefly tell about it. So they asked these two questions: that if, as a firm, as a company, you have two options to predict. Number one is how to use data to target customers, or the second one is how to use big data that creates value for customers. So if I ask you guys, which one you think should be the main focus of any company to predict? The one or the two? How many of you think it's one? No one? And how many of you think it's two? It's only one person. Okay, yeah, cool. Actually, that's very good because most companies focus on one. And they say that what you should be really focusing on is the two. And I had a previous startup which was doing something similar. And we saw that people are very willing to give. So I give you a bit context. That people talk about privacy. They say, oh, there's data, you're knowing everything about me and you're going to predict my future. I don't want that. If you do the one, yes, people are very scared. If you do the second, no one is scared. And I've done that on people driving cars and they're very happy to share the data if I give them the value. Now, what kind of value can you give to these customers? So I've asked 3 questions, and this is basically in the same way. So what types of future information will help my customers to reduce the cost or risk? Ask this question. So any company trying to do a prediction, if you want to focus at what data that I can use from my future information. So if I know that you are going to buy something in a week, what can I tell you so that you can save your money and risk? One thing could be as simple as one case is discount. So if I know that in 2 weeks I'm going to announce a discount, and if I get to know you're going to buy something in a week, I'll tell you, hey, wait for a week more, and you will get a discount. Huge value. And you'll be very happy to give your data. And you'll be very happy that we did the prediction. Second question. So what type of future information would yield with new insights if aggregated? So what I'm trying to say, that if we aggregate data, what kind of new information that you will get? Let's say, and this is a big problem that a lot of companies are also trying to solve, is credit score. So if I want to know, you are a young person, and I often don't know how much money that you could get a loan, or what is your credit score? This is a major problem in countries like China and India. And if I could gather information that what kind of things you will be doing in future, you will be buying this, how much you will be earning, I can then much better use the information to score you. And then I can know whether you should get data or not. And the third question is, how can we aggregate data from other people that are in your network and create certain values? So this is also very relevant. Often we as social human act how our networks are. And that we have seen in various cases. Like one case would be, from my personal experience, that how you drive better. And if you are one of the chance of you being in an accident depends on what kind of friends you have. And same thing works with loans. That if I could know that you and your network also going to be not so defaulter, well, then there are high chances that that everyone in the network will not be a defaulter. So even if I have, let's say, 75% chance I can gather that your network may default. If I see that you have 75% chance of defaulting, and then if your network are all also 80 to 90% not defaulting, then I can have a much higher chance that you will not default than say a network where your network is actually high chance of defaulting. So to conclude, what I wanted to show is that the predictive analytics is the future of BI. Because if I know future, I can do a lot of things from that. And any company doing these things should focus on how can they add value to their customers, not just about how can they market to those customers. So thanks, and I'm happy to take a question if there is.
Sure, we've got a minute or so please ask a question.
So how do we avoid the situation like from Minority Report? So you are predicting the future and you are causing the future to happen because you predicted. So you are discriminating a person because of the social group, and he will be discriminated and he will act wrongly because you said so.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll tell you that. So, and I have done this in real case. So, you are not predicting this will happen. You are predicting this is a high likelihood of something happening. So, from a real case, so I had this company. We are predicting that whether someone is high likely to be in an accident. So, we got to know that this person might cause an accident. Then, what you do, you create incentives to make the person not do that. And we have seen that via gamification, you can change the behavior of people. So it's not just about knowing that you'll do that and just not doing anything. You actually then act upon it and gamify the system to make it, to avoid the situation.
Okay, any more question? Any quick one? Okay, let's go to the next presentation then. It's thank you very much.